Commission meeting of January 23rd, 2025. Please call roll.
Commissioner Zilich,
Present.
Commissioner Smith,
Present.
Commissioner Jensen,
Here.
Commissioner Rossi,
Here.
Commissioner Tao,
Here.
Vice Chair Sheard. Here. Chairperson Jenkins.
Here.
Thank you.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on non-agenda items?
The only comment cards I received were for item number 1.
Thank you. We will open the public hearing.
At this time, staff is requesting that item number 2 be moved to the front so that more time can be devoted to item number 1.
Thank you. We will do that. When there are speakers, time will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker. That's for speakers that aren't applicants. And we will have a staff report for item 2, please.
We are getting that ready for you. Okay. Good evening, commissioners and chair. Thank you for joining us tonight. The first item we are going to discuss is a use permit for Fairbanks Paving. They are requesting a parking garage and vehicle depot for a site adjacent to their current location. It's a street over. Next slide, please. So, the owner of Fairbanks Paving has purchased a vacant site off of 7th Avenue. It is just south of the towing company. Right now, it's an undeveloped lot, nothing going on there. This is the proposed site plan. They are proposing to put a metal building on the corner of the lot there and then actually pave the parking and install landscaping and a sidewalk, which will be a much improved infrastructure than is already there. The proposal is to store personal vehicles within this metal building as well as vehicles that are used by Fairbanks Paving. The vehicle depot land use will allow them to do minor repairs on both the personal vehicles and the fleet vehicles. Next slide, please. This is the proposed structure. So it is already within the city limits. It is a used building moved onto the site. It will conform with the industrial setting of the area. The zoning is mixed use, but mixed use zoning requires a use permit for this. And so staff is recommending approval. We feel that the as conditioned and with the findings that it will be better than what is there now, which is vacant. It will be a developed site and it will be in conformance with the rest of the area since even though it is zone mixed use, it has an industrial nature to it. Next slide, please. So with that, we are recommending that a public hearing be conducted. Use permit 2503 is approved with the recommended findings and proposed conditions, and that the resolution associated with it is also adopted. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Would the applicant wish to speak?
You want me to?
It's up to you.
No.
All right. Do we have any speaker cards for this item?
We do not, sir.
We will close public comment session and limit discussion between commissioners and staff. Any questions, comments?
I think it's like a perfect use. I feel bad they have to get a use permit, which is so expensive. So I guess I'm kind of wondering why in something did they have to do a use permit? I understand it's mixed use, so do we have this not zoned properly?
This area was rezoned to mixed use along with all of Oro Dam, but I don't exactly know when. I believe it was sometime around 2015. And it has not developed in the way that was anticipated at the time.
Right.
It has maintained its industrial feel. Staff has discussed the option of rezoning it back to industrial. We do not see the growth going in a mixed-use fashion along 7th and 5th. We would entertain a recommendation to further pursue that from you guys if you are also in agreement from us. But unfortunately, at this time, because of the mixed-use zoning, a use permit does need to be acquired.
Yeah, I was going to use my planning commissioner report time to make that suggestion. I've made that suggestion on commission before, but before I think any of our current staff who are present now were
Yeah.
with the city. That's something I'd be interested in
Yeah,
pursuing because I
absolutely.
think it makes
It's
sense.
a lot of money, $3,800.
And these
This is-
properties here, they're not on the major corridor, but they have access to all the major corridors. It's a great place for warehousing, logistics, those kinds of uses. So.
Yes. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments? Open for a motion?
I make a motion that we approve item 2 as agendized.
And I will second the motion.
Thank you. Please call roll. Or,
We're back to this.
sorry.
I'm trying to press my yes. Oh, here. Because we haven't done it in a while.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And item 1, we'll move on to item 1.
Yes, sorry, give me
When
just
you're ready.
one
I was waiting for you to
second.
quit writing. Sorry about that.
Making sure I got my notes. All right, let's do it. Okay, item 1 on the agenda is the Oroville RV Park. Just a little back. Last month, the RV park came before you guys for a use permit for the actual park itself. 127 spaces. It is a luxury park that has a clubhouse, a banquet hall. It has a welcome center and supply store, which is part of the front entrance as you come in. Actually, could you do me a favor and put it on the next slide for me? Actually, you know what? Go down. Sorry, I'm doing this a little bit backwards, you guys. Go ahead, go one more. There you go. Okay, so on the site plan, the bottom in the bottom red square there is the welcome center. That is, so guests will pull in, park, they go inside there to get registered. At that area, they are presented with like a key card, similar like that I use here at City Hall. And what they do is that card is then preloaded with funds, and it is also linked to their reservation. That is how they will pay for things within the supply store, and how they will also gain access to the park through the closed gates, and how they will, if they want to purchase anything at the banquet hall or clubhouse, same thing. It's all associated with this card, and it is all designed. The amenities, including the supply store, the clubhouse, all of it is designed for guests only. It is not designed or accessible to the general public. Okay, so now let's please go back. So this that use permit for the RV was approved last month at the Planning Commission. This month they are coming to us for a second use permit, which is for alcohol sales. And so we're going to talk about alcohol sales for a little bit, and then we'll go back to the site plan. So Census Tract 29 is that whole area there you see outlined in the black, goes through the after bay, the fore-bay, down through Thermalito. In green is the city limits. So most of Census Tract 29 is within the county. There are 2 dots on there, and I can see now for future reference that blue is not very visible. But if you can see the blue dot, that is the proposed RV park. And then the orange dot on the bottom is Collins and Denny's. They are the only approved liquor license in Tract 29. They have what is called a Type 21, which is for off-premise consumption of beer, wine, and liquor. Thank you. Next slide. ABC, the Alcohol Beverage Control, requires a 500-foot noticing requirement for alcohol sales, whereas our normal use permit sales is a 300-foot requirement. So this one did go out further than the original notice went out. It went to about approximately 57 different properties. Most of those properties are located within Butte County, and a significant portion of them are residential properties. It did not get noticed to Collins and Denny's because that is outside the 500-foot buffer. Next slide, please. Okay, so back to the site plan. Next slide. So they are requesting 2 different licenses. The first is going to be a type 21 license, and that is for the Welcome Center, which I have on, is the bottom one, and it's my green star. So that will be for, it's the same type. It's considered off-premise, but what that means is that it's closed container. It's like if you go into Rayleigh's or 7-Eleven, guests will use their access pass to purchase either beer, wine, or hard liquor, and then take that back to their campsite where it can be consumed at their campsite in their RV. Next slide, please. So the second one is we're not 100% sure on what the type is. ABC told me it's probably a type 47, but what it is, it's for containers of open alcohol and closed to be purchased at the clubhouse for the guests, same thing, for the guests with their access card. That, if it's open, if they purchase an open container like you would at a restaurant or a bar, it is consumed within the confines of that area. If they want to purchase a closed, similar as they would have with the supply center, then that'll go back to their campsite. Again, the intention is for the consumption to be solely within the park and purchased and consumed by guests of the park only. Next slide, please. So we had some concerns that were raised today, and so I wanted to take a moment to go ahead and address those concerns, and then also talk about some of the conditions of approval that are typically associated with an alcohol use permit sales. So we did receive 2 letters, one from the principal of the school adjacent and one from the deputy superintendent of the Butte College of County Office of Education. Sorry. And both of those letters were very similar in their concern, and that was mainly to address student safety. They don't want students having the ability to purchase alcohol, and they don't want students exposed to potentially negative behaviors associated with the consumption of alcohol. And alcohol leaving the park. And so so the concerns are there, and then also the conditions of approval. So these are all in the resolution that is part of my staff report. And that is that, number 1, they have to adhere to submitted plans, and by submitted plans, I mean not just drawings, but any documentation that was part of their approval. So for example, I also included an email to you today that goes over some of their site planning, some of their security access. So they are required to adhere to that. And if they don't adhere to that, they have the potential to lose their use permit. Meaning we would come before you today and say, commissioners, condition number 4, 5, and 6 are not being met. We are requesting that this be revoked. So conditions of approval are serious, and they are designed to be adhered to, right? So they have to adhere to the submitted plans. We also have a lot of safety performance standards within the city itself. So our OMC, Oroville Municipal Code, it's not just Title 17, which is zoning, it's everything, right? So you have the police codes, you have the traffic codes, you have security codes, you have lighting standards, noise standards. A condition of approval is that they have to adhere to all of that. So the city's noise requirements, they have to adhere to that. The city's requirements for lighting, they have to adhere to that. The city's requirements for landscaping, which also serves as a buffer to shield adjacent properties, they have to adhere to that. If they don't, they could lose their use permit. They also, one very specific to alcohol sales is that they have to submit a security plan to the satisfaction of the chief of police. So that's not a security plan that planning looks at. It's something that our chief of police looks at and has to approve. Some of those measures, which I have kind of outlined before, but are also in the submitted plans, are that they will have an on-site manager. They will have security staff at all times that are designed to I guess I'll use the word patrol for lack of a better word, both the inside of the park and the outside of the park. They have gates there are 3 different gates. There's the primary entrance gate, there's an emergency access gate, and then there's an exit gate, which are going to be closed at all time. You can only get through them with that card pass that, again, is what you use for purchasing things, and it's what you use to gain access to the park. And then on top of that, they have video surveillance throughout the entire park, which includes motion sensors as well. And so staff is very supportive of both the applicant and the community, and we respect the concerns that have been raised, and the applicant is aware of them, and he is open to potential more conditions that could alleviate some of these concerns. But as conditioned right now, we do feel that there are plenty of security measures in place to make sure that children are not exposed to this, and that the alcohol will truly only be there for the enjoyment of the guests and not for the general public. For example, I could not go in there and purchase anything because I'm not a guest. Next slide, please. Okay, so with that said, we do have recommended motions, and that is that we conduct the public hearing, that you approve the use permit with the recommended findings, proposed conditions. We do have a letter, PCN, public convenience or necessity. I always butcher that one. And so that is that if the alcohol ABC says that there's an overconcentration, which we don't think they will because there's only one in the entire census tract, but we are in favor of having another one. And then the resolution, which has the proposed conditions and the findings in it. And that concludes my staff report. Thank you.
Thank you. I was absent for that when this was approved. I saw something about 8-foot no-climb fence. Was there a 6-foot or an 8-foot fence?
So right now, the site plan does have a 6-foot wrought iron fence to go around the entire property connecting to those gates. The applicant it had been discussed at the hearing last month that be increased to 8 feet. Ultimately, that was not adopted, but they are open to that if that would alleviate concerns.
And is it fully screened?
It is not screened. It is just wrought iron.
But is there vegetation or something to screen?
Yes,
to
they
screen?
have proposed
So from the exterior, you can't see what's going on in the.
No, I mean, realistically, it does take a few years for trees and vegetation to reach a maturity level that does provide adequate screening, but they have provided significant planting. Part of all that is also they have to sign what's called a landscape maintenance agreement that is filed with our city clerk. And again, they have to adhere to it. There are rules about what types of plants, how long those plants have to be alive for. If they die, you have to put them back on there again. If you don't maintain your landscaping, we can come out and, hammer it down.
Thank you. Is there an applicant that wishes to speak on this?
He is, the applicant is on Zoom right now.
Would he like to speak?
Dean. Okay.
Give me just one moment. He does need to be promoted to panelist. He'll need to rejoin. Okay? And then just for your notification, we do have public comment on this item as well.
Thank you.
It shows him as rejoining right now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay. Yeah, hi, my name's Dean Castlebaum. I am the applicant. I thought the staff report was wonderful. It described everything that I could. So if you have any questions of me, go ahead.
Thank you. We may, in a little while, if you had a presentation to make before public comment, now would be a time. Otherwise, we could ask you some questions possibly after public comment.
Well, I may restate a few things. It is a private resort. That's our intention. They're very exclusive in the sense of, as described using the how you enter the project, how you actually acquire things, how you use. It's very functional. It's similar to other hotel resorts, if you've been to them. Specifically about the 8-foot fencing, we think that's a good idea. We had some discussion about that at the last planning commission hearing. The school's concern is certainly appropriate, and it's something we are going to be very wary of. Our intention is not to have a party house at our RV resort. Our concern are Yelp reviews, and the Yelp review we don't want to hear is, don't go there, it's just a bunch of drunks. That's nothing we want to do. We want to have a quality, very quality experience at this site. There's a big need for RV spaces in the RV world that has quality control. Safety is a huge issue for that. And that's something we plan on really doing an excellent job at. So we very much have a good team of professionals that do design systems for RV parks specifically. And then the other part of that is the RVs themselves. I mean, these machines are actually pretty spectacular. And they have their own secure systems that they have in their RVs. So there'll be quite a bit of that. We don't want to run this with, uniformed security guards in that sense. Our intention is to have hire experienced people that have security in their background. And that's our first approach to it. We want to see if that is sufficient, if that's something that we can control inside our own people. If not, then we'd look at bringing in a private company that could provide that service to us also. But right now, our intention is to have our own employees provide that security. It'll be with, number one, we have on-site managers 24 hours a day. We'll have 1 to 2 security personnel there at night. And also during the day if it's crowded. I mean, these parks can be fairly full, but they can also be fairly empty. So we'll just have to play it by ear and see what the ebb and flow of the project is over the first couple of years to get ourselves into a good rhythm. So if you have any questions, fire away.
Thank you. We'll go to public comment, and we may have some questions for you in a little while. Thank you.
All right.
First speaker, please.
Perfect. First, we have Randy, followed by Cody.
I'm opposed to this. It's by the schools. And there are 2 alcohol sales places available within very easy walking distance. Collins and Denny is one. But then just across the freeway is the Chevron station. They sell alcohol as well. With all the amenities this place is supposed to have, I don't see a need for them to be selling alcohol. All these spectacular machines, they have their own refrigerators and things like that, so they don't need to be purchasing alcohol there. And I'll agree that no one had pointed out yet, but Collins Day Market is next to a school. The difference there is that the school had property that they built on next to the store, but the store had been there for like 100 years. So that was a precedent. So I don't see any reason to have to add more alcohol sales in that area, especially next to those schools. If it's a luxurious place, I think those people will travel with their own booze. They won't need to go to buying it anywhere. So I'd like to see this be turned down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Cody.
Good evening. My name is Cody Walker. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Business for the Thornblado Union Elementary School District. I came here this evening to voice concerns similar to the letters that you've already displayed up there about the sale of alcohols and proximity to the schools. Nelson Avenue Middle School would be across 6th Street from this and in close proximity, and then Hearthstone, which is run by Butte County Office of Ed, is immediately adjacent to it. I think that some of what's been shared has alleviated some of those concerns in terms of the card access, both to the park and for sales. I do think that the higher fence, if that were put in place, would be a good thing, and appreciate the concerns for screening, visually from the students. It's also immediately adjacent to the Nelson Pool, so you've got kids playing there, and I think the better it could be separated, the better that project would be. So I appreciate the enforcement and the standards and the ability to, appeal on that if those weren't being followed. Not relevant to the question of alcohol sales, but in reviewing the plans today, it looked like sidewalks would be a portion of the project on Nelson Avenue. If it were possible to also have those added to Sixth, we'd love to see that as providing a better walking path for students walking to Nelson in particular. So the sidewalks being added would be something we'd be excited about seeing added. And thank you for the information presented.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last, we have Sharon Murray.
Karen from Oroville, and the same concerns were of the alcohol and being close to the vicinity of where this is going to be, a proposed property is going to be developed. You have kind of addressed some of my concerns. So that's kind of what, I'm kind of reiterating what these other gentlemen have spoken. I did want to mention, this is the first time that I was notified of this. I've lived in my current location for the last 6 years, so I'm just surprised that I didn't get anything regarding this. So just wanted to mention that. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you. That was the last speaker.
Yes, sir. That's all I have.
We will close public comment and limit discussion between commissioners and staff. Questions, comments, concerns?
I just want to throw in there that I also had the concern, of course, with the schools being in close proximity of it, as well as, the fact that parties can get out of hand and such. My suggestion would be to add something into the document that would limit the number of sales per wristband. Perhaps they could, only purchase one alcoholic beverage at a time with the wristband, and then there has to be a period of time, because it's all electronic, it all be coded. So it could be coded where they can make one purchase every 2 hours or something like that. So I think that would limit the consumption of alcohol on the premises. But the fact is, in my opinion, they're going to be bringing alcohol in, or it's going to be sold there. I don't think we are not at all talking about a ban of alcohol on the premises. So I think either way, alcohol is going to be there. So I would like to see the project move forward with the strict regulations.
And my mic's not on.
You were on.
I know we fought really hard against the liquor store that was next to the preschool on Montgomery. And a lot of that for me was the signage and the advertising and kids walking by and going to the skate park. So I completely am passionate about that. But I really feel the caliber of this RV park and the fence around it. And I have friends that love to go to these really nice places in their RVs. And it seems like a wonderful thing to do. So personally, I feel like it will be, I don't know how students would even get in there. I don't know how that could happen, and there won't be any alcohol advertising. I also feel passionate that I want the business owner to make money, and I know that selling alcohol is going to help that. So I want to be very encouraging of that. And when I first saw this project, I was concerned, like, oh no, what's happening? But then after the last meeting and just going through all of the high standards that they have, I feel confident that it will be a safe place and good for the community. My one question is this what happens in other luxury RV parks? And maybe the applicant can answer that with this kiosk, this key that you go around. And I'm also confused because it says there won't be a bartender, but there's open drinks. So I'm confused on exactly how that is for a customer. You have a kiosk, you're not just buying a bottle of wine, you're getting a glass of wine. So I would kind of like to understand that a little bit more also.
Do you want me to address that right now?
If that's okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we will have a bartender there specifically for an event that we would have, or if the park we use 50% occupied, we would have a bartender in the clubhouse at the bar that's there, serving drinks. if there is not a bartender there, we will not be selling cocktails. People can walk in and bring their own beer can if they want. But our intention really is from all the alcohol information, the application for the use permit is really based upon having the ability to have an event, or if a lot of times families get together, or groups of friends get together in these RV communities, they show up together, 8 or 10 people, and then they go down to the pool, they go down there, and if we have enough activity in that light that would require a bartender, one of our employees will be a trained bartender that we would have take care of it. So it really is not a full-time restaurant bar kind of thing, but we have the ability to pretend to be that when we need to. So we'll have a short menu for people that want to. They pull in and they don't want to set up their RV because they're going to leave the next day, which happens a lot. People will come on down. They'll want a hamburger. They want a beer. Sit around, watch football or whatever, and then go back to their RV and then take off in the morning. So we just want to have that kind of flexibility, and that's why we're needing an alcohol permit. So.
Thank you. So then is it 2 permits? It's one to sell closed bottles, and then it's also to be able to have a bartender. Okay. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
If there's, one thing that's been brought up a few times are weddings, and we're not really set up for that. Unless it's a very small wedding. If it's 10, 20 people, maybe we could accommodate that. But it's not for, a 200-person wedding with a lot of cars, because we can't park that. So we're wanting it to be self-contained. The people that are there, it's 127 spots, maybe 2 people, probably 2 people per RV. That'd be about 250 people running around. And, and that's fine with us. That's what we want to keep it at.
What is the typical length of stay from the average person or family?
Break it down to 2 different types of RVers. One are the ones that are on the road going somewhere, and they book their travels, and they spend a night here, and they spend a night up at Shasta, and they move on their way up Highway 5. Then there's destination people that go to a region. So going from a region, the average stay is 3 to 4 nights. Typically, that's your average. You have some people that stay a week. So we'll have a lot of overnight guests and a high percentage of people that be there for 3 or 4 days.
And this has a maximum occupancy of what? Of 30 days, right? Or 29 days, and then you have to leave, or?
Well, we went through that at the last hearing, and we said, okay, 30 days is our maximum time to stay there. But evidently, city code is actually 60 days. And the original language for our request was that we would comply to the city code. So right now, in discussion with the staff, was city code is 60 days, so that's kind of where we're at. The only time we'd get to that level, candidly, is if there's a big event, like a fire, and there's a lot of Caltrans, Caltrans, Cal Fire, contractor work, that kind of thing going on, where RV parks are slammed by those kind of customers. They're, as we all know, what that's like. Aside from that, there isn't really a reason for somebody to stay for a couple of months. We don't anticipate that type of long-term stay.
Clear, the 60 days is not a requirement. It's a maximum. So no one could stay
Correct.
more than 60 days.
Yeah.
So it still could be a condition that they could only have 30 days to do whatever the planning commission would like to do.
That's item 3 tonight.
And then okay, so the average person stays 7 days or whatever, maybe 4 or 5 days, whatever. And
Right.
the restaurant is only going to be open if there's, or the bar and grill, whatever it is if you have 50% occupancy in the park?
Well, what it really is that's kind of what we do internally. That's what we're talking about. But when you book if you're a traveler and you're coming to the region from somewhere for whatever reason you're there, online, when they book their reservation, we also will have a menu. In that menu, they can then say what they want to order. We are trying to always have the right amount of food on site to service our clients. So they can in advance order steak, and then we'll make sure we have as many steaks that have been ordered. That's how we're going to try to control our inventory. That's how we can integrate everything else in the project based upon the ebb and flow. So our reservation is critical at step one for everything that flows after that for their time in the park. They can reserve kayaks, they can reserve bicycles to ride, they can do all those things online when they make their reservation, or up until the day they show up, we can accommodate that. They can pick the spot they want to reserve in the park where they want to sit. So it's a fantastic way of booking your park. But so we'll know after a year or two of how the ebb and flow is and how this will work for our site in Oroville.
I mean, so there's really no way to keep alcohol out of the facility, correct?
No, I mean,
I mean, if people
the
come
first
with their
Yelp review will
RVs,
be the only dry RV park in America.
yeah.
So now I don't want to be that guy. So
The use permit today would permit the applicant to take the next step, which is to work with ABC on securing those licenses and going through their process, and then ultimately selling alcohol within the park. However, if for whatever reason that endeavor does not pan out, there's no way we could regulate people going to Collins and Denny's, going to Chevron, going to Rayleigh's, getting everything and then bringing it into the park themselves. And any activities that happen accordingly.
yeah. I mean, I guess, it's not, I don't know, mobile home park or whatever, I mean, this is just it's not, it's not, I don't know, maybe it's stigmatized, maybe it isn't, but it's an RV park, it's a destination to go. I don't think you're gonna have a bunch of people loitering around drunk in this place, right? I mean, this is not.
No, this is not that
just
type of facility.
Yeah, it's more of a kind of a resort, right?
This is classified as a resort. It is classified as luxury. This is not something that words are escaping me, and
Unless
I
you
apologize.
have an RV and you have a space rented, you're not getting in.
You're not getting in. You cannot walk in and expect to come out with anything unless you have a reservation.
So we're not just gonna be able to hop in the car, go there for lunch, go to the bar and grill and drink. You have to stay there.
Absolutely,
It's
yeah.
not open to the public.
Not at all. You can't get in.
Okay.
And your RV has to have a good standard also.
Yeah,
I
there
remember that
there
from
was a
last
condition
time.
in place on, and I don't remember the exact words.
there's a universal standard of all RVs must be 10 years or newer.
That's what I remember, yeah.
That we will have that in our contracts, in our rental agreements.
And then we also, there is a specific condition of approval, not attached to the alcohol sales, but attached to the RV park, which is that mobile homes, manufactured homes are not permitted within.
You know the guidelines that they are agreeing to, the ones that you listed on the screen, and you said if they don't abide by them, they could lose.
They could lose their ability to sell alcohol.
How does that happen? Through code enforcement? Because
It's-
that's always a mystery.
So, I'll be honest with you, it's not an easy overnight fix, but
Right.
we would get permission. Staff would be directed by either council, by the planning commission, by city management to start that process. It would involve code enforcement, it would involve citations. Ultimately, the goal is to correct the violation, not completely remove the use. But if those violations cannot be corrected, we have the right to revoke that use permit, and it would be something that actually would come to you guys as a process. So we would sit here with a staff report and say, they're not following the rules, and, we've tried, and here's all the examples of how we tried, and now this is where we're at.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
in my opinion, with the level of the facility, with it being a luxury park, with the money that they're putting into it, they're not going to want to take the chances of losing their use permit. I mean, this isn't scraping off some grass and parking an RV there, so I would hope that they would treat it seriously and they would follow the statutes. I'm sure they will.
Yes. May I also add, there's another condition of approval. It's a standard condition, and it is in both resolutions, that says that staff has, they have to let, it's the zoning administrator, which would be Pat, or his designee, which would be me, access pretty much any time we want to verify conditions, to, I could call them up and say, hey, we want to come by and do a site visit, and they have to let us, within reason, let us in to do that, to ensure that all these conditions are being met. It's not like we stamp this and then they go on their way. Like, there's always active participation.
Okay, I didn't know that.
How are they gonna make sure that no underage people buy alcohol if they get a wristband or if they pre-buy it? I mean,
I will. That is a great question.
how's that policed? And they're gonna have 2 to 3 night watchmen on site and then an on-site manager as well?
No, that's not correct. We'll have 1 to 2 and then a night manager.
Okay, 'cause this says there will be
Not
2.
3. We're not representing, we'd have 3 night people.
Are you referring to the email?
So this says there will be 2 to 3 night watchmen on site, the on-site manager, and 1 to 2 people making rounds in a golf cart to make sure everything, okay, so the 2 to 3 is combined, it's all inclusive of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just for clarification, Dean, Commissioner Rossi is referring to the email that Sarah Crosley sent out last month
Right.
to me, going over some of the questions that were asked by the commissioners last month.
Right, yeah. I understood that.
Okay.
So I've got several friends that have RV'd over the years. A lot of times they set it up as a destination and they park their RV there all year long and then visit the RV when they go on vacations and stuff. Is that something that would be happening here at the RV?
No, there are.
No, not, I'm sorry, I don't want to step on you. But no, that's not something we would be interested in doing. I live up at Lake Almanor, and there's several of those up here. They're seasonal. And, if you're in Arizona and you get out to eat, you go to San Diego. We're not geared up for that kind of thing. It's long-term stays have a whole different set of expenses, and candidly, a lot less revenue per space than what we are anticipating as our business plan is, spelling out. So that kind of use is not something we would do.
It would also be a violation of the condition of the 30 days or 60
Yeah.
days, whatever you
Yeah.
decide.
No, I'm just curious because I know it's.
That's right, yeah.
Also, I know John's recommendations are good, but like I say, you can buy the stuff at the stores anyway. So I guess my bigger question would be, how do you handle public drunkenness?
Dean, could you answer that question as well as the previous question of how you ensure that underage drinkers aren't using cards to purchase alcohol?
Well, we're going to do it. First off, we'll check everybody's ID. Like when we all go to the grocery store. I'm 68 years old. I get carded, so we're going to do that. We'll do that's the simplest way to verify anybody's age. As far as handling drunken people, we'll do our best to make it so it's not a conflict. If it gets to a level where our security people that we plan on, that they will be trained and understand how to deal with it, the backup would be to call the police, to step in and take care of the person. We're not into having other guests be disturbed by a drunk, and we would make sure that person is taken care of right away. Either sober up and ask them to leave is what we'll probably do right away if they're belligerent and rude to people. So, that's the best we can do, really. I mean, we're going to do our best to make sure we don't have that kind of situation arise. But you can't control people when they're in their own RV drinking. I mean, that's an issue that we'll have to work on.
So when I saw the plan come for this last month and heard the presentation about it from staff and from your representative who was there, this project very much reminded me of places that I've been to in Nevada and Arizona. My in-laws were part of this RVing community. Well, until recently, until their RV turned 10 years old. Didn't want to reinvest in it. But let's see, what's the best way to say this? The clientele for these places is it's an older crowd. And having grown up in Chico, I'd say the level of partying that I've been exposed to versus what I saw at a place like this is extremely tame. Most of the interaction, the partying, the drinking, it happens inside of RVs in these places. Based on my experience, I'm not concerned that we're going to have a tremendous amount of issues, and I know that it's your guys' investment, and you want to make sure that that you have a safe and comfortable environment for everybody who comes here, and that if there are any issues that are going to arise, you're going to be able to take care of them. I just want to say I don't think I see a need for additional restrictions on the number of beverages, because I don't foresee that being a problem myself. If it becomes a problem, we could do something, but. You had mentioned, this is to the applicant, you'd mentioned that you'd be okay with raising the fence to 8 feet, if that alleviates concerns. For the folks who weren't here in last month's meeting, I remember that conversation. We talked about that. The reason it didn't go through is we were just concerned about the place looking like a fortress and not being welcoming, because we really want this to be a draw for people. We want to use this opportunity to bring people to Oroville. The people who go to these, who stay at places like this, they like to go out in the community. They like to spend money. It's the kind of thing that we want to be able to bring here if we can. And we're afraid that we would perhaps. If we were afraid we were going to discourage anybody. At least that's why I was against going higher on the fencing. If that's not a concern, and if the fencing is helps alleviate concerns from the neighborhood, then I'd be happy to support that. I don't think I have any other. Yeah, I don't have any other comments. So.
Well, if the fencing was lower at the entry, so it had a better aesthetic, and then the 8 feet was around the perimeter, it seems like that would look welcoming.
Okay.
Our concern are the areas that, Kenley along Highway 70, the off-ramp there, that's a long line of fence. If somebody came from the park and wanted to kind of go along there and hop the fence, our concern is what was brought up was, 6 feet isn't that difficult to get over. 6 feet is more aesthetic, especially there at the entrance. We've been discussing maybe going with some sort of a masonry wall at the entrance a little bit more that would be screening what's there. And cost-wise, that's a bigger issue for us that we're trying to get a handle around. So, I think what we want to have is the flexibility of recognizing that, say, along the schools, put an 8-foot fence along that, as an issue. There, that area we have heavily treed anyways. The school already has several. It's planted pretty heavy along the property line, and we would be adding to that because that's, the RVs are not going right up against that fence line. There's, it's, I think, about 40 feet, 30, 40 feet that's separated there. So we'll have some sort of a buffer. But again, we just don't want to, the concern about somehow kids wanting to jump the fence and get into the park. That's certainly something we need to be aware of. It's going to be pretty easy to figure out who's supposed to be there and who's not, so it's, from that point of view, it is more accessibility, ease of accessibility that we have to work on.
So,
But we will have, cameras and motion detectors and all that will be set up. But if a 10-year-old wants to get in, well, I know some 10-year-olds that probably could do it. So,
so when I had brought up the 8-foot fences before, that was before we had even talked about the watchman. When I brought it up was like, what is your security for the people that are going to be residing there? What is your security for them? And I brought up the fact of potentially an 8-foot fence for sure. But with the watchman there, I would think that an 8-foot fence on the backside, on the riverside, or I'm sorry, the entrance there to the forebay, and an 8-foot fence on the freeway side, and then if you kept the aesthetically pleasing in front and on 6th Street with the 6-foot fence, I think that would be fine there. I was more concerned about the residents coming, staying, and then, once again, as you mentioned, the Yelp reviews, if somebody hopped over the back fence and broke into an RV, that's what I was more concerned of. I want you to succeed in this as well as anybody else does. So that was my concern with the 8-foot fence, was keeping people out more than anything in the areas where they could come in for a break-in.
yeah, I agree with you.
I have a question on the age of the RV or trailer, 10 years. But I have a 15-year-old diesel pusher that's in mint condition.
Would he be allowed
So,
in?
I mean, my question, and I understand,
Send a picture.
you don't want
just gotta
someone
send
bringing
picture.
a
That's what it comes down to.
1960s, an ugly, but I mean, and this is just for my curiosity, but, if someone provides you, which they probably should provide you when they make their reservation, a photo of the RV or trailer with its license plate and its registration, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if the unit is, a 2014 diesel pusher that's in mint condition, why would you not allow them to stay?
It comes, you gotta have a demarker somewhere. You gotta say, somewhere in the paperwork, you gotta say, not every RV can come in this property. So why you have the 10-year? Well, one of the biggest users of our RV parks are Airstreams and vintage Airstreams. I mean, they're beautiful. And certainly there are Airstream clubs that will show up, 20 of them at a time. So, I mean, we'll work with anybody along those lines. If somebody has a classic, good, great trailer, they restored it, it's beautiful, that's great. We're trying to keep a level of, candidly, a snobby attitude is, we want to make sure, everybody looks great, everything is great, and we don't want any falling apart. The big thing with RVs is their smell. And you got their dump stations, you have everything that goes along with that usually fall in disrepair if they haven't been maintained well after 10 years. And so you don't want to have that happening in your property at all. You want to be able to, send a picture. We don't want you pulling, we don't want you coming from Arizona with an old trailer that we'll never let in. We want you to know early enough when you make a reservation that your trailer is acceptable. And you have to sign off saying what year is your RV in the application. And is it in great condition, mint condition, okay condition kind of thing. And then send a picture if it's more than 10 years old. That way, and
then it's not
you get
just 10 years old.
You get the reservation. If you have to say no, you do, and that's just how it is. You lose a customer, but maybe you save a
Got a
few
special
too. So,
permission.
see.
Right, if it's
So
over
it's 10 years
10.
or newer, anything older than 10 years,
Yeah.
subject
That
to
case.
Yes,
not being able to come.
Yep.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Because
That's
I
good.
mean, there's a lot of people out there with, units that are not just 10 years old. Anyway, that's just, I don't know. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, I would not be allowed to bring my hunting trailer in there and park it. That's all I know. So I would.
No, I'm just saying, based upon, obviously, you're gonna get like I said, you're gonna get a photo of it, the registration of it. So you're gonna see
Right.
what it is. What if I have a 5-year-old, diesel pusher, but I've been traveling around for 5 years with it. It's gonna be kind of, worn out. So,
Yep,
that's all I'm saying.
yeah.
That's it.
Well, we have to have a standard somewhere, so that's where we put it. It's subjective, and I think most people will understand what we're trying to do. It's want to maintain a good quality standard so people want to come back, and we'll know soon enough. It's you get these Yelp reviews kind of tag you as to who you are pretty quick. So.
One thing I wanted to mention too is we haven't really touched on, you actually have units for rent available on site, correct?
Yeah, we'll have some Airstreams that will be there. There'll be Airstream makes what's called a park model that look like an Airstream, but they're kind of fixed where they're at. And yeah, we'll be putting them there, and we'll be renting those out. And that's mainly for people that are visiting. The people that are staying at the campground, at a campground, or if they're if they don't have an RV, but they want to be there at our park. So there is always those kind of people that will stay at RV parks if they're available. Pricing, we're cheaper than a hotel, so we'll see.
Any other questions or comments?
Those are also limited to 30 days, the on-site rentals?
Yes.
Yes.
Our clerk stepped out for a minute,
Oh.
so we'll wait for the, if anybody has.
I
Well,
can
isn't
answer
it
any
60
questions you may have right
Isn't
now.
it 60 days?
So,
Unless
I guess we can really quickly get into that. So our tax revenue code defines transient as 60 days, not 30 days. And so the next part of the agenda is to discuss the resolution that was approved last month. It is for 30 days. If we want it to be aligned with the city code definitions, then we could change it to 60 days. And so our recommendation is to change it to 60 days. The applicant's okay either way. We're okay either way. We just wanted to, because it was talked about being in conformance with code. And so officially the code is 60 days. So that concludes my third presentation that you haven't seen yet.
So I would think that the 60 days would be awesome, but that's only due to more recent events, such as with fires and such.
Yeah,
I would think that, for the most part, you're gonna get people that come in here and spend 5 days, 6 days at the most. They'll see the dam, they'll spend some time in town, then they'll leave. But I think if we did have a fire, if we had that, then all of a sudden, people are just getting their feet underneath them 30 days into it, and then all of a sudden, they're having to find another place to go.
There could be,
We'll
a
get-
state
we'll
of
get-
emergency or something
You know,
that
I
could be
was-
exceptions,
Correct.
right? Based
When-
upon,
Yes.
that.
Emergency, when, like, for example, I had actually a class yesterday with Paradise, Town of Paradise, on some of their post-disaster planning and after their fire, and they suspended a lot of rules. They had special emergency ordinances in place that they actually allowed people to stay for a year in their RVs, and so special circumstances calls for special rules. But if this one was already in place and we did have a situation, we wouldn't necessarily need to create an emergency ordinance in that regard.
This will be item 3, though, so we'll.
Yeah, but this is item 3.
So if commissions,
I would think if we ran into that situation, then we would probably come back towards you and say, this is the reality of our world right now. We have families living here, and we probably need to keep them for many months, make them available. And I would suspect that would be approved. So, but that's, when that happens.
we'll get into that. We haven't finished item 2 yet. That'll be our item 3, and we'll discuss that. If everybody's ready for.
Do we want to discuss?
Yeah, I was
final
gonna,
on
yeah,
fencing?
we'd open for a motion with a condition of fencing. Fencing or no fencing?
Well, the motion that I would make would be to have 6-foot fencing on the aesthetically pleasing sides of the entrance and Sixth, and ask for 8-foot fencing on the freeway and backside.
May I ask for clarification on that? So technically, western boundary, which would be the 6th Street side, also is behind the school. So would you want but right behind the school to be 6 or 8?
That would be 8 right behind the, so the aesthetically
I just want to make
pleasing-
sure I had it all right.
Right, aesthetically pleasing areas, so that wouldn't be behind the school, that would be on Sixth Street up to the school.
Okay.
Would be, what I'm asking for is 6 foot everywhere where the public is gonna see, and then behind the school, and then next to the freeway, and in the back,
Okay.
on the north side would be 8.
I'm gonna pull up the site plan. I just want to get for sure official that I have the right information.
Yes,
So we're talking
Show it
about.
on there.
There's no way to like move anything around, is there? Can you see her mouse?
Yeah.
All right, so
Here
we're
we
talking
can see it
about.
better. Here.
We're talking. Yeah, thank you. I just want to make sure that I have this right. We're talking about 6 feet all along Nelson. 6 feet all along 6th Street here, but then basically from this corner around the school up to the sports complex and all the way around, and then around the electric company, that would be 8 feet.
Right here. Nelson would be.
On 6th?
but to your point, I was saying, that instead of making it look like a fortress, I was trying to keep the fence down, that's to your point, that's,
It's pretty far from the clubhouse, too.
Yeah, so again, like this is where the school is right here. Sorry, I know it's hard to see my little mouse moving. This, and granted, right, the consumption would occur on the RV sites, but this is where you would buy it, and this is where you would buy it. And so access is limited in that regard. But I do think, if we're going to address some of the school's concerns and criteria, I do think it's important that this one, this side be 8 feet.
yes.
Okay.
That's part of my motion, that's what I meant. So along the frontage, in the front, on the south side, along the frontage on Sixth Street, up to the school, be 6 feet. Everything else for 8 feet.
So, and where'd it go? Oh my gosh, vanished. Wait, there I am. So approximately at this point right here.
Yes.
Okay. Staff would support that.
Was that the field that it backs up to?
No, that's at the northern end. Is
What's on
right-
the western side there? On the west, what is that?
That is Hearthstone School. I might have.
And the pool, swimming pool above it.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
why I
yeah,
said
and then
8
the
foot
pools,
there
this is
for
where
the
the
bear.
pool
Why
is.
don't you make that a solid fence if it's gonna be next to the school?
That would be an
Expensive.
option.
The price is gonna go,
I will say there is, but so yes, the fence is opaque, it's not opaque, right? Like it's but there is significant landscaping, and there is still, you have that buffer distance, approximately 40 feet between that fence line and where the people will be staying.
So the setback is 40 feet to the first RV?
This is what the applicant has expressed, yes. Is that is a 40-foot measurement right there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, no. I don't want to erase her
was
calls,
that a
Okay,
motion then?
so that's
Okay.
the motion I was making. The south side, the west side up to the school, everything else, 8-foot fence. So 6 foot on the south side and on the west side up to the school.
We have a motion, do we have a second on this?
Now, is that just?
That is only for the fencing, that's all I was saying for the fencing.
Okay, so that wasn't for the whole,
That is only the fencing. I thought we wanted to
that
clear the
was,
fencing
okay,
first.
we need to do the fencing as condition upon,
A condition with the permit
Okay.
approval, I think.
We can do it either way, right?
Yeah, one way you could say this is we could say to motion as agendized with the specification of the fence, with the fencing specifications included. Unless that's not what you wanted to motion.
No, that's fine. We can proceed with that. I make a motion for that.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank
Thank you.
you. I will, so I will have to revise the resolution, and I will have that for you guys next month with the fence as discussed with the specific heights.
Thank you.
Kayla, does that have to come back as another resolution, or can she change it based on what the vote was and then just,
You can actually implement, since we did speak the action into the record and it was motion and passed unanimously, you can
Yeah,
implement
sorry,
the changes and
I
then.
meant more to have you sign it.
So what we'll do is we'll reach out to you, Chair, for signature. It doesn't need to come back to the commission next month.
That closes our public hearing portion, and for regular business, we have item 3.
Item 3, would you please put up my report?
Yes.
It's the last, 3 slides. Okay. All right, so as briefly already mentioned, the resolution for the RV park itself, project-specific condition of approval number 6 was added last month. It wasn't part of the original presentation, and it was that visitor stay shall be limited to 30 days. Next slide, please. So I have it for you right there. Existing condition, visitor stay shall be limited to a maximum of 30 consecutive days. To be in conformance with our uniform transient occupancy tax, we have proposed an amendment to that condition, and so instead it would say, in conformance with OMC Title 3.20, Uniform Transient Occupancy Tax, visitor stay shall be limited to a maximum of 60 consecutive days. We're good with either one that you want.
I have one question. So you pay the transient tax for 60-day stays in the city of Oroville?
Well, yes, and so the
Like Airbnbs, not
Yeah.
just an RV
so,
park?
So under Title 3.2, there's a whole list of definitions for the uniform transient occupancy tax, and the definition of transient
Yeah.
is
the
60
tax.
or and that is for the TOT tax.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't realize it was 60 days.
We didn't either. And so my staff report, the recommendation was to amend it to 60 days just to be in conformance with the definition that we have. However, the applicant's okay either way, and so we would, I guess, defer to your preference.
I'd let the applicant choose what's good for them.
Right,
But
I
Yeah.
agree.
they can make their determination, right? If they want to limit to 30 or 60 days.
Yeah, the applicant was okay with either.
I mean, what are the costs or drawbacks to the city of increasing it to 60 days? Are there any?
Great question. The city has no incurred extra cost or difficulties. All it would be is if someone was at the park for 30 days versus someone was at the park for 60 days. But as the applicant has stated, most people stay for
I mean, they're paying
less than a
TOT
week.
the whole time, right?
They are
So the
paying
city gets-
TOT.
So the city gets the money.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think, and Pat, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Wes had mentioned that when the 30 to 60 days, like that second 30-day period changes the way Butte County.
Yeah, that was corrected.
that was incorrect? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How was that tax collected?
You have to
Through our
pay it.
finance department.
You have to pay it. You have to walk in, and you got to
No,
give
I
them money.
I fully understand that, but I mean, who audits it? And how do we know that?
Nobody.
That is
You know,
handled through our
that you
finance
got
department.
20
and-
RVs or 75 RVs and how we,
It's
the
an
same.
honor
How do we
know?
system.
It's the same with the hotel stays, so
Yep, exactly.
it all flushes out in the tax returns and all that. So, I mean, we have them everybody on their honor that they're paying the TOT that they should. And then, every once in a while, we'll find someone who's not, but it's, we don't look for it deeply, but there's audits that happen here and there for that. Yeah.
If the commission is in favor of letting the applicant choose, I would recommend then asking him if he has an actual preference.
I think for 60 days, I think gives us the flexibility if somebody needs to be, there for 30 days or more. Again, it's not something we're really wanting to promote, but if somebody needs to be there, I don't know, they have somebody sick in the hospital or something and they need to stay, then I will work with that, you know, so 60 days seems probably a little bit better than 30 days in that situation.
Yeah, well, like you guys were speaking about disasters, there's just year after year,
Yeah.
there's people looking to stay somewhere, so.
I think
Right, yeah.
there's disasters, there's different roles too. And-
Yeah.
Well, I'll just jump out and move to approve Resolution 2024-15 for the amendment to the project-specific condition as proposed.
I'll second it.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
And we'll move to commissioner reports. Does anybody have report on anything?
You heard mine already.
I did have two things. I was wondering if I could get from staff, because I have a lot of concerned citizens talking to me about this, what is happening with all of the Veterans Village projects? We had two, and I think it got extended, and I believe that this month it is expiring. What I'm learning is that nothing's happening. They're in default, and it seems like we put out a lot of money, and I just would love, can we get an update? What is going on?
I just talked to Amy about this today, and I can't give you a responsible answer. I'm sorry. They're not.
Next time, could we?
Yeah, next time we can do that.
Okay.
Right? They are still moving forward. She didn't mention default, so I don't think that that's a thing, but
Okay.
they are still moving forward. And we were just talking today, they sent us something about the Veterans Project that's over by our old Corp Yard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're puzzling it out still. They're working on it.
It's just, it seems like we put out a lot of money.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening. I mean, one's right on Montgomery. It's still a problem lot. So I just would like to know, I just don't think people, and weren't they given the land? I just think there should be some accountability when you're given valuable land and the city gives it to you, and whatever that requirement is, I think you should be, of course, held accountable to that. So that's what I'm curious about. I'm not saying that I don't know that is what's happening. I just want to know.
I'll bring you a better response next month.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I would assume there'd be a performance bond on the thing of some sort, so,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Because that's a real cool benefit when you're given some valuable land
Yep.
by the city of Oroville.
Historical advisory?
Yeah, I could do another thing. This kind of also involves Fred, which is wonderful. But I think you're familiar with the Liberty Pole, our historic Liberty Pole that is right at what I guess we call parking lot A, but it's, is that Lincoln and Montgomery? So we have that big, tall flagpole. And historically, that was a replica of the Revolutionary War Liberty Pole, and this was the first one on the west that was installed. It has been rededicated and put up. I think the one that's there now might be from 1976. Jim Lenoff, our local historian, has been, I think it's called the Captain General of the pole. The pole has really incredible history. At one time, they actually cut it down to put the first phone line on it, and they made the first phone call from Oroville. So it's a very cool thing. Liberty poles traditionally are only to have flags on them for special events and holidays. But we're a new modern society, and we love that flag when it's flying. I think everyone loves it. So the city put a light on it. But there was some hesitancy on the part of the older historians to give their approval of allowing the flag to fly all the time. But I was able to just get permission that we could do that, which I wanted to get. So anyway, that's kind of the direction that Fred could probably talk to you about too. But that is something I think the city will be taking it over, is the goal. Still honoring the history and traditions of the pole, but yet allowing the flag to be flown with a light on it.
That's correct. So, long or the short of it, to build more on the Liberty Pole too, it does go back to the Civil War days, all of that. It was a rallying point for militias and for people to get the latest and greatest news on war efforts and those type of things. So, I talked to Natalie yesterday. We had a great conversation, and we're going to meet. Not next week. I'm leaving the area. I'll be gone all next week, but maybe the week after that to meet with the
Okay.
city administrator and kind of iron out what the requirements are. I kind of primed the pump, if you will, with half-mast,
Yes.
days of specialty, like we were talking about, maybe
Yeah.
flying the flag with the appropriate amount of stars that represent that era, which could be really cool because we're doing that with our museums now. But we got to keep in mind the price tag on these flags are $2,000 a flag.
Yeah.
Now, the flag protocol, there's a couple of things there. Between 80 and 100 feet, we suspect the flagpole's around somewhere between 88 and 95 feet. So the proper size American flag for that pole is a 20 by 40. They're currently flying a 15 by 25, so it's actually a little bit smaller than what the protocol is.
That would look beautiful.
To build on that more, yes, we did put the LED lighting in. I saved the city, well, I didn't. We saved the city close to $7,000 by running a different type of the lighting off the street light versus running a whole new electrical service. So there's a win there. We will have a finalized agreement, I hope, 2 weeks, and I will be happy to report back out on that when we'll do our special half-staff. Of course, we have to. When there's a federal holiday, when Carter or somebody else dies of national significance, yes, we would lower the flags. I would like to, at some point, modernize the lanyards, too, because the current setup is somebody getting up there on a stepladder and reaching way high above their head on a stepladder. That's ripe with all kinds of potential hazards. So I know the fire department at one time used to bring the ladder truck out. That creates its own problem. So I want to try to figure out a different lanyard system. One other note on the Liberty pole before I'm quiet on it. I had my concerns of that pole being, I wasn't sure how old it was, but we did find a date stamp on it of 76 and some memorialization on it. I had a pest inspection done on it, and we did some core samplings on it to make sure that if we fly a 15 by 25 foot flag or a 20 by 40 in a wind, does it have the tensile strength to actually take it? And it did. It passed really good. The inner wood, the heartwood, and the pole itself is in actually very good condition. So I just wanted to add that piece to it. So we're kind of excited of partnering with that, and we'll make more of an official statement on it when it's actually agreed upon with the city and the Exchange Club. I know the City Council has a very strong desire for it, so it would be nice to get that box checked.
And Jim Lenoff, who is the Captain General of Oroville's Liberty Pole, lives on Montgomery, and he's in his 90s. So anyway, I'm just so thankful to him. He saved a lot of buildings in downtown Oroville. That's the end of my report, right?
Staff reports.
I guess that would be me too, why I'm here on such a late evening. I just wanted to touch bases with the Planning Commission. It was brought to my attention. A few months ago, we were talking about looking at the downtown bathroom over there by the City of Paris and the State Theater. We all know it's in a disrepair. The roof is damaged. Actually, it's gone in places. The fixtures inside are inefficient. They're old. They're vandalized. It's dirty. It's gross. And it's the wrought iron fence that's supposed to keep transients out has been breached once again. That's probably the 5th or 6th time since I've been here. So we are doing a cost analysis to do a couple of things. I think it's a pretty across-the-board opinion that the Downtown Business Association wants to keep that building as is. Not as is in the current state, but the actual footprint of the building that was dedicated back in I believe it's the 70s right now. So we're doing a cost analysis. We're doing an engineer's cost estimate on what that actually looks like versus there's other newer technology out there, which I'm kind of open to. They're called Exolu, and love to maybe do a presentation at some point. For the cost of actually doing a whole new bathroom, we could demo and fly in, pre-built, alarm, self-cleaning, lots of neat things, remote control lock. The problem with it is it's not historically significant
Right. So
any
the
longer.
ODBA
It's
doesn't
new.
like that.
But if it takes $250,000 to rebuild it, and this is $160,000, we need to kind of think about what that looks like. And with prior conversations with the DBA, it sounds like there might be, or was, and still is, interest of them taking the reins with actually doing the refurbishment on it and then turn the keys back over to the city, which would be a really exciting piece. Long of the short of it is that we're working on it. We have many projects. There's been a lot of stuff going on with the city. John's well aware of what he's been doing and some of the obstacles we've had there. We got Montgomery Street restriped and resurfaced. That's just kind of the tip of the iceberg of what we're doing. So one other piece before I quiet, going to council Tuesday night for next council meeting with a potential maybe doing some decorative fencing on Table Mountain to separate the traffic from the sidewalk over there where
Yes.
the retaining wall is or the mosaics.
That would be wonderful.
No illusion that this fence will keep the cars off the sidewalk. It's to keep the humans on the sidewalk and from the middle of the street in a decorative piece. After that is done, I'll come back at the next planning commission. I can give you a report out, perhaps some of the models of what we're looking at, and actually have a better update on where we're at with the bathrooms. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other staff reports?
We started, I think I've mentioned before that we're doing a program down in the south side area. It's to, we have multiple things that we're working on down there, but part of it is to try to connect them to the city, because it's an area that's been disenfranchised for many years and it needs a lot of attention. So we're looking for different ways to do infrastructure down there and that kind of thing. But in the immediate, we're doing a sort of a community work day on March 29th. We've been throwing out April, but then it turns out there's a bunch of student volunteers that would be interested in doing something like this. So, and they're available on March 29th. So that's when we moved the meeting. So it'll be the project will be Neighbors Helping Neighbors, cleaning up properties, cleaning out some trash for those that can't, seniors and disabled folks. And then for those that can, there'll be some assistance for cleaning up. It'll be a little bit different. It's going to be not open to everyone in the whole area. It'll be sort of the houses that will get assistance will be identified ahead of time. And then code enforcement will go out there and clean up all the alleys. They normally do that every year, but this year they're going to coordinate it on this day. We really want to show an impact of the city, paying some attention to them and bringing this just a one full day of attention. So it'll be Saturday, March 29th. Everyone's welcome to come and volunteer if you choose. Yep, that'd be great. They are doing a barbecue at the end of the day, not a barbecue, but like a block party at the end. So the local people over there that are really sort of spearheading this, we're helping them. They're going to do a block party and they are going to be feeding the volunteers at the end of the day.
Okay,
So-
I was going to say, I know a nonprofit that would volunteer for that, but if
Right.
you already have it covered, you're good.
Well, they would probably like some help, John. Yeah.
I said we have a nonprofit that would go out there. Didn't know that I'm going to be able to be out there.
So do you have any marketing on that ready for anybody yet, or?
No, we had been talking about this for several months, but we were dancing around at some Saturday in April. And we met just yesterday to really to settle a date and to keep this moving. So when someone came and said they had a lot of volunteer students that would want to do this on the 29th, we moved to the 29th. So we've picked the date, and then we're now meeting every 2 weeks for just until we get closer. Then we'll meet every week, because I've done these before in other cities. It's a big undertaking. There's a lot to do. Yeah. So we'll be reaching out for sponsorships from some of our bigger retailers and that kind of thing.
Well,
Let me.
Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, let me know about you put me in touch with the people for the block party and all that, because we have a food trailer and we're perfectly able to come out and cook a whole lot of food for people, so.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
let me
will.
know.
That'd be great. And I'd also like to talk about the OCDC meeting that happened on, was it last Monday, John?
Yeah, I heard it was
Yes.
really good.
It was a great meeting. It was a fantastic meeting.
It was a really great meeting. Councilmember Weber did a really nice presentation about sort of honoring the past significant events that have happened here and leaving the rest of it behind and looking forward to the future of what's next. So we had the gold rush, we had the logging boom.
Railway.
Right. What's next?
Thank you, railway. And so
Yep.
what is going to be our next things? And he pointed out that each one of those occurred about 60 years apart.
Right.
Right.
And
60
we're right
years.
about there now. So what's next? So, we're working on some energy things and some, we've got a biomass company coming and some battery and different things. So we have some really interesting things that are coming up. Maybe that's our next thing, but we're looking forward to what that is. And it really is an invitation for the whole community to participate in this new venture. So
Did you see the Moss Landing battery plant?
sure did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Now, I was going to say on volunteers too, I've got a men's breakfast. It happens every Saturday of the year now. And we've got several organizations participating in it. I got about 60, 70 guys showing up every week. The next move is we're the same heart ourselves, and we've been trying to move into the south side to connect them as well.
Oh,
So I've been working with Kevin Thompson about bringing the breakfast to that south side center on a regular basis, and out of that, we could get a lot of volunteer probably help for that day as well. So-
There's a definite
fantastic.
need in Southside. We feed people every Friday night. We
Yeah.
have a group that feed people right over there by the Southside Mini Mart, and we'll feed 200 people right there. Just a lot of it's
Wow.
kids, and there's just a real need
Yep.
in that community for help. And not handouts, but hand ups, because there's a lot of people out there that want to do better for their community.
Right.
They just don't have the ability to do it. So we're just, a lot of us are trying to influence Southside in a
Yeah.
positive
Yeah.
way.
Amen.
so Terry, I'll keep y'all posted and
Yeah.
make sure that you know what's coming up. And then if there's, at the right point, when we're starting to have more people come into these meetings to make sure that we have the interest and nobody forgets
Solidify
about
some of
it.
the-
Yeah,
yeah.
right. Then, I'll make sure to invite you guys. Kevin Thompson is one of the organizers of this. And then
Oh, great.
Phoenix Rising, Tiffany and Cece from the African American Cultural Center. They are really the sort of the driving force behind this. So, all right, thanks.
Is
Can
that's-
anybody hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Wes.
I hear a Wes.
Yeah, I haven't saw you in a long time.
Hi, I've been enjoying this meeting. And I have just one report for staff. On January 8th, a draft EIR was released for the warehouse project on South Ophir. And that is a warehouse project of up to 3 million square feet. And it'll be on the land immediately adjacent to Ophir Road, south of the mine there, right at Baggett Palermo Road. And it is a speculative environmental impact report in that we have no applicant. We have been in discussions with a potential warehouse company, but the EIR will cover any project up to 3 million square feet. We also have a backup plan, which is a pre-design of an industrial park that has been proposed back in 2015-16. So that's out for public review for 45 days. And after that, we'll be taking it to you and to the city council for review.
To hear this message again.
Sounds good. Do we have anything else?
No.
Okay. We will adjourn the meeting to February 27th, 2024 at 6 PM.